most people don't get through one degree in life. I don't want to say this is the third degree. You're doing this for fun, aren't you?
It's a self-actualization. Because of all the things that we acquire in life, whether it's fame, status, wealth, it can take away from you very easily. But education or knowledge is something that you acquire and you hold it. I actually believe that technology is a way to connect people. Technology is really an enabler, not only for a person, a company, but even a country. And to be frank, as a working mom, right, I think the challenges are different from as a working dad. We have to balance what we want to do personally in our career and also to look after the family. Even though we can do very well at work, but we're not doing our job in the family, we are still not a great woman. It's actually true the biggest challenge becomes the greatest learnings and joy.
How do you build that level of trust? I mean, how do you build trust?
Yeah. People will want to buy from people that they can, if something goes wrong, I know who to call.
You don't build trust by giving help, you build trust by asking for help.
The biggest hurdle is not from external. It's actually in our mind. If you want to do something, just go for it. So stop the excuse and do it.
What is it that drives you?
But one of the things that I learned about myself is that I can train my brain very well. What you put in your mind will affect the way you say and the way you act, and it becomes a reality.
My guest today is a very well-known leader in the technology industry of Southeast Asia. Originally from Indonesia, she now calls Singapore home. With a career spanning over 3 decades, she has worked for the biggest and the best brands in tech, in sales, leadership, and management roles, both in country, in Southeast Asia, and even Asia Pacific. Known for her humility and her wit, she also has a terrific sense of humor. There's never a dull moment when she's around. I'm thrilled to start our series, Why, Who, and Where, for 2025, interviewing Megawaty Khie, who is a friend and who I think will have a lot to share with those aspiring for a career in technology. Mega, welcome. And
Hello.
Thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Really appreciate it. I should wish you Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Year. And we have another New Year coming up very soon, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like we're between 2 New Years. Mega, I always like to go back to the start. Right? School, days growing up, some of the fun days of life, when we were kids and the impact it has on how we turn out in life.
Okay.
Where was that for you?
Okay. I think, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. Fun fact before I go into the history of my childhood. So my name is Mega. And in Sanskrit, and if you Google it, Zubin, actually means cloud.
Yes.
So I usually use that as my opening speech because I think my parents, especially my dad, was very visionary if you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean, right?
And now you have a career in cloud, right?
There you go. There you go. So I actually was born in Jakarta. But when I was about 5-6 years old, my father decided that he wanted all of us to study Mandarin. Okay? And all of us were moved to Singapore to study.
Wow.
And then, so that's also another thing that's very visionary if you think about it.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Usually Indonesians are asked to study Malay as a second language. I was asked to study Mandarin as my first language.
Wow.
So I came here starting with kindergarten and then all the way to junior college. And after which then I went to the US for my university degree in marketing.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is that actually was very beneficial for me if I look back now, because I was able to master 3 very important languages across Southeast Asia: English, Mandarin, and Indonesian. and I speak a bit of Thai as well. So that allows me, it actually prepares me for my current role because my current portfolio is to run Southeast Asia.
Congratulations on that. I
And
know
thank you
just
so much.
started.
Thank you so much to you, Zubin. So,
Oh, no.
so that shaped my childhood in a very different way. The way I look at things may not be a typical Indonesian per se, but I combine all these experiences together. The other thing that I like to share with that is about the appreciation of diversity,
Right.
right? About the different ways of how to do things or the different outlooks. So I went to the US for my studies. I had a job as a management trainee, early days,
Yep.
in a retail company. Then after which, my mom said, "Hey, better come back because it's time." So I came back to Singapore, and I had the chance to work in Singtel. That's my first official corporate role. But then again, I then got a job in Jakarta. So imagine this: I've never spent my life in Jakarta, in Indonesia, but life takes its way, right? So and then I went back to Jakarta, and then I met my husband, and then we started a family. So that's how I started
Wonderful.
my family life in Indonesia. Yes.
So, school in Singapore,
Yes.
then you do a degree in the US, in it's Southern
Actually,
Illinois.
in
Is it?
Illinois.
Yeah,
Yes.
Illinois.
Correct.
And but you know what? I was looking. So you do bachelor in marketing,
Yes.
then you do an MBA a decade later in tech,
Correct.
and as if that's not enough, you do another MBA.
No. Actually, I'm trying to
what was that?
pursue a PhD now.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I'm trying to pursue a PhD. That's in the works. But currently, as we speak, I'm pursuing a board member accreditation here in
Right.
Singapore, in the program that's organized by both Singapore Computer Society and Singapore Institute of Directors. So they have
Yep,
this
yep.
Women in Tech program. So I'm very fortunate to participate in that. So I really find it very fun.
I told our viewers, right, about your humility, and you say you're very fortunate, but most people don't get through one degree in life, and then this is like, I don't want to say this is the third degree, but you're doing this for fun, aren't you? Like
It's a self-actualization. So it's not like, I want to get another job or whatever. For me, it's lifelong learning. And I mean it in a very deep way. Because of all the things that we acquire in life, whether it's fame, status, wealth, even health, if you think about it, it's something that you cannot take. It can take away from you very easily. But education or knowledge is something that you acquire and you hold it. So I enjoyed that. And that's for me, it's I really enjoyed the learnings on of course the topics, but more importantly, the people that I have met along the way. So I've created a very good network of friends, new friends, not only
Yes.
from tech, right?
Yes.
From different industries.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really awesome. Yeah.
Right. So you said the first job was in retail. That was in the US.
Yes.
Right. And then you came and joined Singtel.
Correct.
Was that conscious, or was that just the first job available?
Okay. So essentially, for very early days, I told myself, what is the best way to connect people? So my early days, right, is that I actually believe that technology is a way to connect people. Okay. Obviously, now technology is a double-edged sword. Okay. But I actually thought that in many different ways, technology is supposed to connect people and help to let people understand each other. And because of that, hopefully in my small little contribution, I can help to create world peace. And I know it's quite big in that thinking, but I really enjoy technology, even though my bachelor degree was actually in marketing. So I actually spent a lot of time to really understand technology. And a lot of the technology that I learned along the way is I really learn it in my own way. It's not like an official degree. So I can also share with you that's actually interesting. At that time, I was able I did very well in my bachelor degree time. I got scholarships and stuff in school. but I wanted to take on computer science in those days, right? But it will take 1 more year for my study, and I didn't want to spend time because of expenses. So, when I joined that retail company, I was able to have the opportunity to do what they call it's a transformation at that time. So remember, this is very early days of technology. If you remember when we were younger, when you buy a product in a retail shop, there is a price tag, right? If you remember those days.
Yep.
So I was chosen to do this store conversion, to make everything to barcode scanning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was able to do for several stores across America.
It's
to
very
lead a
high tech
team.
for that time.
It's very high tech, but if you think about it, that actually, I really enjoyed that. By last time there was like servers, you download the SKUs, you know. Those days I have to lead a team on, and so for that I not only enjoy it, and I really realized that technology is really an enabler, not only for a person, a company, but even a country. So that's why I entered technology.
And we live in we're very fortunate to live in a country that embraces technology
Absolutely.
in such a big way.
Yes, you're right.
As an enabler for every citizen.
Every single one, yeah.
Yes, every resident for that.
So if I think about it, I would never have thought that when I was looking at how I want to plan a career for myself. Remember these early days? I never thought that technology would be such a big impact. Right now, if you think about it, IT impacts every single person's life. No matter you are young, old, or whatever, right? You can see how technology impacted media industry, our travel industry, accommodation, how we use information, you know. Nothing is untouched. So that's why
it all seems like we're just getting started.
Absolutely. So a lot of times people talk about Gen AI nowadays and stuff, and I'm very happy that I joined Avanade because it's at the center of all this innovation using Microsoft technology.
Right.
And because of the structure of Avanade, we are the best partner. They call a zero partner for Microsoft. So that's a default one. So we only deal with Microsoft technology. And as you know, Microsoft now is at the forefront.
At the forefront. Yes. Absolutely.
In this technology.
Through your career, right, I look at you work for Singtel, Dell, HP, SAP,
Microsoft last time.
Sorry, I forgot Microsoft before. SAP, and then IBM, and then Google.
Correct.
And you worked as country head for Indonesia a few times, and in a few roles, and then Southeast Asia and even an Asia Pacific role.
Correct, you're right.
How do you do that? I mean, how do you navigate country to region to country? Because people have a hard time. And let me put it another way. People do one, they graduate to the next level, and then they don't want to come back and do country again. Tell me how you've, cut across.
Okay.
And have there been challenges doing that?
Oh yeah, of course. So if I look back, if I look back at Microsoft, this was my first IT job, right?
Yep.
So I was leading the SMS&P business, which is a small and mid-market partners and group back then. So it was a country role, and I reported to the country GM at that time. Then after which I joined Dell as a country director, right? And then I was asked to join HP. So in every company, I would say I learned something, different parts of the business, trying the best of each business and how they became successful. When I was in HP, I actually entered as a country MD for the personal systems group, the PC, the notebooks and stuff.
Yes.
But I left as a APJ person leading the enterprise business. So for that role, I actually moved to Singapore. Okay,
Right.
so the other country roles I was based in Indonesia, but the region roles I was based in Singapore.
Singapore.
Right.
Yes.
And then after that, then from a HP, I went to SAP as a country MD. So I went back to country. In every part of the journey, and to be frank, as a working mom, right, I think the challenges are different from as a working dad.
Yep.
Because as a female, we have to balance what we want to do personally in our career and also to look after the family. Maybe for males, you think about one part. Okay, I
You
hope.
can say it. We are not as
Okay.
conscientious
Yeah, so
as women are. The sense of responsibility that
Yes.
women have, there's absolutely no comparison in the two.
yes.
So I totally get that.
So for a working mom, even though we can do very well at work, but we're not doing our job in the family, we are still not a great woman, if you know what I mean. So we
Yep.
have to balance that.
Yep.
So at that time, when I was doing the regional job, my kids were still young.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I do this, I fly around, but what happens to my children? And I have to take care of that. So there was this guilt, to be frank, that I always felt. Am I not doing enough and stuff like that? So I spent a lot of quality time with them. So even though that we have, I work very hard, I was very fortunate to have a very supportive husband. Okay. And that's very important.
Yep.
And the second one is very important is my domestic help.
Oh, wow. Yes.
yes.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes people ignore that, but for me, my domestic help became part of my family. So like for one, like she has been with us for 21 years, for example.
Amazing.
Yes. Because
Amazing.
it's a different relationship, right? I mean, like you really need to bring her in and really treat her as part of the family. So those are the things. So I was able to get a good help, good support system that allows me to do what I want to achieve. And so I went back to the country. So when the kids are young, but then again, when I in this time stage of my life, it's almost like a perfect situation. Why? My kids are all grown up. So they're in overseas, so I don't have children at home per se. That's why I got a dog. So it's an empty nest. I have a fantastic, beautiful golden retriever.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I have a very supportive husband. So what happens is that so I go back and forth, Jakarta or Singapore, but I also do traveling, right?
Yep.
Even in my previous roles, even in Google Cloud. But my husband also comes in.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think the open communication, having a trusting relationship is key as part of building this foundation. Because for me, in life, it's not about one side. It's career is important, health is important,
Yep.
but spiritually, we also must have that balance. So I try to see all the different parts of my life.
Wow. Wonderful. Wonderful to hear that.
But it takes, some time.
You were telling me about your help being with you for 21. That could be a whole podcast on itself, like, because people have so much trouble
to get good help.
To get good help.
Yeah, I understand.
But I think it's probably, there's a lot that you've probably done to earn that or deserve that as well.
Correct.
So.
Like for her, like her daughter goes to university, I pay for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that's where the person's become family.
Correct.
Was there ever a time in all these roles that you felt overwhelmed or out, not because of the personal, but just the job itself?
Oh yeah, of
and
course.
Out of depth, like, oh my God, this, like, what have I got myself into, or like, can I do this? The usual doubts.
Of course, I
that
think
may come.
definitely in our career. I mean, no matter what we do, right? There will always be challenges. But what I learned here along the journey is that it's actually through the biggest challenge, and if you're able to overcome it, assuming you're able to overcome it, becomes the greatest learnings and joy. Because it's just like this hills and valley. If you have not experienced the lowest valley, then you will not appreciate the beautiful scene from a hill, right? Or from a mountain. Because you don't go through the challenges, you don't go through the toughness of the journey. So I think challenges is part of my journey. That's why, Zubin, one of my greatest enjoyment is to read biographies. Okay, I in my my home library, I have like the biographies of many people. many I wouldn't say famous, but very accomplished people. But the thing like I like to do is not about the end goal, the success. When I read biographies, I'm interested in what they did. Because all of them would have, any entrepreneurs, any business will go through challenges. So I like to read. I like to read about what did they experience and what did they do to overcome. And actually, it's very interesting. Everybody's journey is very, so I learn from that, and actually it applies to my own life as well. So but it's so
Any
overwhelming.
favorites in the biographies?
Oh, actually, I like The Long March to Freedom, which is by the Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, Nelson Mandela is one of my favorites, although I haven't read that. You talked about challenges, right? And how you take strength from, or how you relate to these biographies and the challenges people have had. Is there any particular that you feel, so I was asking you about a situation,
Yeah.
And maybe after that, you can also tell us like what the single biggest challenge, although I get the sense that it could have been balancing work-life, probably
Oh, okay.
for a lady. But tell me, we were on that question of an overwhelming situation or job.
Yeah. So let's talk about the recent one. So I was in my previous company, and then we were trying to win a very big account. Let's just use that because I remember
This
that
was in Indonesia.
in Indonesia,
Yeah. And you were the country head.
correct
That time.
And I remember that it was during COVID times. So during the lockdown, you're not able to meet people face to face.
Yep.
A lot of the communication is online and stuff. However, we have the opportunity to meet, not very frequent, but like 1 or 2 times, whereby we really have a very intense and engagement with the client. And we're able to talk not about the technology, Zubin. We talk about the business value of that technology. Because sometimes when you are in the industry, a lot of people think that, this is the best technology, this is the best. But actually, our clients, our customers do not really care about the brand of technology.
Correct.
But they are more interested in, okay, what can it do to help my business, right?
Correct.
So, and we were able to convince whether it's the COO, the CEO, like all the different stakeholders. And it was very intense. But one of the learnings is that if you're able to galvanize the troop, the support system, to orchestrate, and you're able to convince the client that such a technology change is able to transform that business in very, very near real terms, it changes the ball game because we were able to win the account without any tender. It's a direct appointment, right? And it takes a lot of efforts, like very intense discussion, whether it's technology, the business outcome, the commercial, the terms and conditions of the contract, everything, right? We have numerous discussion, not only at the country level, but regional, even global level. But we were able to do that over a span of 9 months or so, whereby the customer started off with a very small footprint, very small to what we actually signed in the end. This like takes a lot of vision, a lot of courage to think about the impossible, because a lot of people say, it will never happen. I would say that a lot of pushback from different areas, a lot of doubt, but we managed to pull through as a team, and we can see the success of that now, because subsequently there's still things that's happening in the account. Of course, I've left the role, but it is very satisfying to see.
It is very satisfying.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's almost like you plant a seed, it keep on growing, right? And it's to the benefits of both organizations.
It takes a huge level of trust for a client to
Yes.
not RFP, right?
Yes.
It's no tender, direct appointment.
Yes, you're right.
I hadn't actually thought of asking this, but how do you build that level of trust? I mean, how do you build trust
Yeah.
to
You know,
that
one
level
thing
with
that
people?
I learned over the years is that people buy from people. People may not buy the technology per se. Yes, it's part of it, but people will want to buy from people that they can, if something goes wrong, I know what to call, right? I mean,
Yep.
essentially, like if you want to buy a car or whatever, a computer, it doesn't matter, right? You have two products, maybe same price, same features. Would you buy from somebody that you know or somebody you totally do not know, right? Because something will go wrong. I mean, that's normal, right? In anything, there's something go wrong. But what do we do when something goes wrong? And that's a true test of a relationship, in any relationship. If everything
Right.
is beautiful and stuff, okay, I mean, doesn't matter. But it's when you see true friendship, I mean, by that token, you can only test whether a person is your friend when you're in a challenging position,
Yes.
right? If you want to go drinking, eating, doesn't matter. Everybody will become your friend. But it's only when you are going into very hardship, then you see, okay, who will actually help you, or who will just say, oh yeah, okay, that's it.
I was watching. I was watching a podcast of Trevor Noah and Simon Sinek. He's very famous
Yeah,
nowadays,
yes,
right? And
yes,
he made a very, very good point in that. He said, "You don't build trust by giving help. You build trust by asking for help."
Mm.
So, to your point, like you will only ask someone for. You will trust someone that you can go and ask for
Correct. You're right.
help and in trouble. And you're reiterating that point.
Yes,
People often misunderstand that it's all about whining, dining. I think customers see through that
yes,
easily.
yes.
And they don't need you to wine and dine them. They're all
Correct.
in very good positions. They can afford the best wine and food. I mean, they
Yeah,
don't need anyone
you're
paying
right.
for it.
Because some people that I have met, whereby they have like salesperson, right, sellers, right. They seem to have very good relationship with everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
But they are not able to bring in the deal. Have you seen those people
Yes.
before?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know a few of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So then the question is why? How come the person is able to have built good relationship? They have friends with everybody. If you go to a room, everybody will say hi to him or her, but it's not successful.
Yes.
It's because of the value. Because so, for example, even if I use my relation, maybe I get the first meeting.
Yep.
But if I don't bring value in the conversation, that first meeting will be the last meeting, because people value their time, right?
Yep.
So that's how I think we should see how we're able to enrich our relationship and our value proposition, not only from a business perspective, but also a personal perspective.
Yep.
The other thing that, if I can share, is something I hold dearly, is because I believe in karma, right? I'm
Yes.
a Buddhist, and creating good karma is very important. So, for
Yes.
example, if I do a good thing for somebody, maybe that good deed may not be from that first person. It may come from another person, but it doesn't matter, because the universe will pay in kind. So
Yes.
creating good karma, paying it forward, actually will create good uh, cause and effect for
Yes.
you. And I've seen that before, Zubin, many, many times. That's why I'm always like a mentor, a mentee, providing that good platform, suggesting good, providing good advice, and see how we're able to help. And if I can be very honest, a lot of times I try to help women in technology,
I think
because
it's needed.
yeah,
right?
because we are
It's
so
needed.
underrepresented, right, Zubin?
Yes. But is it also, is it just about underrepresentation, or is it also about, like, preferences, and how do you get more women interested in technology?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Maybe they aren't, right? I don't know what the answer to that is. You see guys with 4 or 5 gadgets
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
You rarely see, and we are digressing a bit, but this is such an important topic. And you, as a leader who's done so well in technology, and I see that you're very tech savvy, even from a personal, digital standpoint.
Right.
How do we get that to go up?
I have participated in several events targeting women, like new leaders and stuff. And one of the questions that always come up is that how do you break into technology,
Yes.
right? How do you break into it? How do you take the first step? How do you get somebody to trust you? And I said to them, actually, the biggest hurdle is not from external. It's actually in our mind.
Yep.
If you actually try to say, hey, I can do it, let me try. Let me do this. But you must be very clear what you need to do and not like hope casting and like hoping for a miracle to happen. Yes, you can pray about it, but you still need to do the action,
Yes.
So the greatest fear is our own fear. So what I've learned is that get rid of those fears. Get rid of this, oh, I'm not good enough thing. It doesn't matter. If you want to do something, just go for it, right?
Yeah.
And women has that fear even more because maybe of historical reasons. Like, it's a natural instinct, right?
Yeah.
But if we want to do it, let's
The
do it.
stereotyping.
Yeah,
so
the
many
stereotyping.
things,
So
yeah.
don't
It's
get
so many
those
things.
stereotyping into your own mind because actually that's very dangerous. It's only us who say that I cannot do it. But if you don't try, don't ask, then people will not know what you want to do. So be brave enough. Take the courage. Take the bold step into doing what you want. But be very clear of what you want first, right? Because
Exactly.
otherwise people will not know how
Don't
to help you.
force yourself into it
yeah,
either.
correct.
Yeah.
So if you like technology, go for it. Study it. So I spend a lot of time trying to study technology too. I mean, it doesn't
Right.
come to me like that, right? And nowadays, also information is everywhere. It's
Everywhere.
online. Like you can use free online knowledge. So I think there's no excuse to say that, oh, I cannot do it because of da. And that's a very important thing because in my old days, I've heard this term, I'm not sure whether you heard, is a victim mentality.
Yep.
People always like to blame the weather, the roads, the traffic for something that they cannot do.
Yep.
So stop the excuse and do it. And then the universe will respond in kind.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And it does respond.
It does.
If you really want something.
I've done that several times,
Yes.
right? I mean, you know
Yes.
me, okay. Not everything will come true, but at least that several out of maybe 5, maybe 3 will come in.
Yep.
Something like that.
How do you keep yourself motivated? Like, do you have like a favorite, like a catchphrase or a favorite philosophy or like what, it's very cliche to say what makes you get out of bed every morning.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are days you don't want to get out of bed, but then eventually you do.
You get out of bed.
What is it that drives you?
So it's funny you said that. So when I was doing farewell from my old job, and a lot of people wrote very nice messages to me. But one of the things that is very, it came up frequently. Actually, in almost all of the messages, like farewell messages, it's like, I'm a very positive, energetic, passionate person.
That you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's almost like a mirror. So I never really think of myself that way. But when 1 person, 10%, 50 people say the same thing, then I think there's some facts to it. But one of the things that I learned about myself is that I can train my brain very well. Okay? Human beings, we are very fortunate. We have a brain that we can train and develop to think and act in the way that we want. Okay? So what I do, because every day I pray. It doesn't matter what religion, yeah, Zubin?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's a religion, I think, is a relationship between you and the one up there. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't include anyone. So what I do every day is I will pray, and then I will say to myself, today is a great day. No matter what happened yesterday or last week, it doesn't matter. So live in the present. So every day is always a great day for me. So I am able to reset the way that I think about what I'm going to do today and tomorrow and going forward. So the reset of the brain is very critical. So if you also read the book, The Secret, right? Whereby it talks about the law, the universe will respond in kind. I think you heard me a couple of times whereby I
Yes.
said that, right? And I believe that because what you put in your mind will affect the way you say and the way you act, and it becomes a reality. So if you put in negative thoughts, it will actually do that. It will also then the what they call the self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yes.
right? And it will come out negative.
Yes.
But if you put in good seeds, then you can nurture and harvest good deeds or good outcome.
Have you heard of the name Shah Rukh Khan? The
Yes, of
most
course.
famous legend,
Yeah, of course.
Bollywood legend,
Yes.
right? One of his most famous dialogues is what you're saying. That if you really want something and you really, really strive for it,
Yes,
then the entire universe comes together to give that to you.
absolutely.
And, you're the second person after Shah Rukh Khan I've heard, reiterate that. So that puts you in very cool company.
And the one thing I do, a tip, I write it down. I write down all the things I want to achieve, whether it's my family, myself, whatever. I write it down, and as part of my prayers every day.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us, because I think with changing times, the power of prayer is being underestimated.
Yeah, right. Yes.
We maybe too much science, maybe too much, too much logic. I see so many people wanting so many things, but doing so little. And you get these very lousy arguments sometimes saying that, if prayer solved everything, then why? No, it's not. It's just the force it gives you, the energy and the...
You have to pray and you do something about it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not one or the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
This has been so good, and I haven't realized how the time has gone.
Oh, yeah.
I always ask in closing, if you were to give some advice to someone who's starting out, or even someone, and this is another group that I meet a lot, people who are in their 40s,
Right.
who feel that things are changing. Will they be relevant in the next 5 or whatever years? So whether it's someone who's mid-career or early stage, if you were giving them advice, what would you tell them?
So your question is, what if somebody wants to change something, right? When they're already 40s, 50s? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or even starting out in career. I think, it's like, how do you keep, maybe, I make it simpler by saying, how do you keep things simple? Which I think you come through as a person who keeps it very clear.
Yes.
I was talking to someone the other day and I said, it helps to be binary.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So
you
people
can't
don't
write
second
code.
guess what you're trying to say.
You can't write code if you
Yeah.
don't understand 1 or 0,
Right.
1 and 0, right?
Yeah.
While human emotion is not 1 and 0, but at least when it comes to ourselves, it's best to keep it. And then the other thing is, theories, being very clear. But what advice would you give to someone who's, say, starting out in their career, or someone who's gone through a decade and now is unsure of what next?
Yeah.
Because how many times people find it that they go into a certain industry and then they're wondering, now that I've given it 10 years, can I change?
Yes.
And those things. You didn't have to, fortunately. You
Well,
love tech.
Yes and no, yeah. Even though I'm in tech, but if you see my career, I've done different parts of
Yes.
tech, right?
Yes.
So I've done software, hardware, cloud, now services, and I try to learn new things in every chapter of my life. Because for me, to be frank, I don't like things which is business as usual. I don't like BAU.
Right.
I like to create something, and every time I do something different, I learn something, and I can see the impact of what I've done, So that's why I joined Avanade, because I see it as a very big opportunity to create something, not only for me, but also for the company. So in order to answer your question, I would say that we need to think through and decide what we want. Sometimes a lot of people say, I don't want this, I don't want that, I want... but they do not say what they want. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, like, for example, like maybe if you ask a friend, hey, let's go and eat. I want to say a point. Okay, then they will say, okay, what do you want to eat? Then the person say, oh, I don't want to eat satay. I don't want to eat dim sum. I don't want to eat Japanese food. Okay, but they do not say what they want, right?
It's my pet peeve. Whenever I ask, like whether it's with family or something, and they're like, first answer you get is, oh, anything's fine.
Yeah, first,
And
yeah.
then I
After
put
that,
the first option and it's like, no, not that.
yes,
And then not that. And I'm like, will you please tell me
exactly.
what exactly you want then?
Exactly. And that's only food, right?
Yeah.
So the bigger question, if you talk about life, whether it's career, whether it's family, whatever, we need to be very clear with ourselves what we want first. Because if we are not clear, our friends cannot support, our family cannot support, the person up there also cannot support, and or the universe cannot respond in kind. So we need to be very clear. So how do you get to a clear answer first? So that's the first question. I
Wow.
believe that meditation in different parts helps. It actually crystallizes the thought and take out all the distraction. So you know how I do it? I swim. Because when you're swimming, you're actually in solitude, right? If you think about it. Yes, there's water, but you're alone in there. I mean, unless you're in the competition. But it allows me to clear out my mind. So when I think through problems, I'm like, business problems, personal problems, it doesn't matter. I use swimming as a part of trying to think through the problem and look at the scenarios. So I imagine the process and the outcome. Option 1, oh, this is that. Okay, option 2, so before I actually do it, I can think through all the different process and outcomes, and then based on that, and I choose the best one that I want to do. So I don't have to do trial and error. At least the trial and error is all in the brain. Some people want to run. Some people do other different things.
I walk.
You walk. Okay.
I walk to clear my head.
There you go. But it's actually a very helpful exercise for ourselves because we need to give time to ourselves. So I know it's a long answer to your question.
No, it's not. It's I think somebody is going to take something from this today.
Okay, good. So use that process to think what you want. Now after that, then you'll be able to articulate that, write it down, and be very clear what you want. Because then you use that process of when you talk about it enough, you will convince yourself to be brave to take that step to where you want. And you also can reach out to the network for people that say, hey, I'm trying to do something. What do you think? Can you help me in this or that? So the things that you talk about, that you act upon, will all help you to reach your goal.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I hope it makes sense.
Meditating. I've been doing it regularly for a few months now. So I'm just trying to check boxes like how many of these things am I doing now?
Oh, I see.
No, but the prayer in the morning is a big help. I know I can say it from personal experience, but I think, when I started this podcast, right?
Yes.
The aim was that I said, if every episode can help one person
right,
change their life, I will consider it a success. You have given us so many things today. Like I say, you're a very humble person. You don't you never blow your trumpet, but there's so much to learn from you every time. I am wishing you all the success in your new journey. I think you're going to absolutely smash it.
I hope so.
I hope so too. And, I look forward to probably having a follow-up someday in 6 months or a year and see how things are going. And maybe we'll come up with some different topics. But, I really want to thank you. This is going to be very, very helpful for a lot of people that watch this.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Megha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.